welcome, we're back. This is going to be the first video on geometry or geometry skills, and this video is obviously talking about perimeter. And let's see here, I guess give you guys a heads up, subsequent videos are going to be about area, volume, Pythagorean theorem, circles are kind of special, that's a whole other thing all by itself, circles, similar triangles, angles, did I already mention angles? I don't know. Anyway, so just keep an eye out for those videos. Those are all related to geometry. And the way to tell is I'll start all of them with the word geometry. Okay, I want to tell you guys that I think geometry is awesome, okay? It's my favorite area in mathematics. And the reason for this, I guess, how many of you have ever been like in a math class, like even in my class, and you ask the teacher, when am I ever going to need to know that stuff? When am I ever going to use that in the real world? And specifically talking about like algebra maybe, or talking about, you know, quadratic formula. When are you going to use that really? Other than maybe for your high school equivalency test or this level of education. But gosh, geometry, oh, it's so wonderful. I do a little bit of woodworking at home for a hobby whenever I have time. But you have to know how to measure something, and that's so important, you know. I just love it. I love it because this is where geometry, math hits the road, or the rubber hits the road, so to speak, because geometry is where mathematics can form buildings and roads and the pyramids of Giza and maybe a little chest of drawers or something, right? It's all basic geometry skills. And I think that everybody has an opportunity to use geometry in their everyday life. Like if you wanted to buy flooring for your house and you're wondering how much do you need to buy, how much is that going to cost, all that. Those kinds of estimates for home improvements, you need to know geometry. You should know geometry for two reasons. One, that you could figure it out on your own, and two, you can't get taken, you know, so to speak, by a contractor that's, you know, fluffing the estimate or making it bigger than it needs to be, because you have some background knowledge as to how much things should cost, because you can do the math and you can do the geometry. Anyway, okay, I digress. So, anyway, okay, so geometry. Today, perimeter. What is perimeter? How do we talk about perimeter? Well, first of all, perimeter is a one-dimensional measurement. It's one dimension, okay? So let's talk about a couple of things right behind me here, and then we'll get into it, okay? So first thing to know about perimeter is that we're going to be taking the length of something. Okay, we're going to be taking the length of something, and what length is the distance from A to B. It's from here to here. Now, it doesn't have to be a straight line, okay? It can go around things and come back and doop, and it just, you know, that's basically what perimeter is going to be. It's going to be the measurement around an object, around a two-dimensional object. So let's get more into this now. Perimeter is the length or the distance around a polygon. I said object before, because we measure around circles, you know, but circles aren't considered polygons. And because of that little difference, we have to make the distinction. Perimeter is for things it's for all the figures that are not circles, and we use another word that I'll get into later. Okay, circumference for circles. Anyway, so perimeter is the sum of all sides, basically. So if a triangle has three sides and they're asking you for the perimeter, you got to add the three sides. That's what it is. Okay. So you can imagine. Okay, let's take that triangle again. Now, you measure this side, you measure this side, and you measure this side, and you add them all together, and you get the perimeter. But why do I say it's one dimension? It's from point A to B, Raul. It's not A to B to C to D, right? Maybe some of you guys are thinking like that there's three sides. So why is it just one length? Because if you could imagine me tying a string to one of those corners on the triangle, and I just take that string, and then I continue that string up this way, and then I get that string going back down this way, and I have A where I started, B where I finished, and A and B are at the same place. Basically, I finish where I started, right? And I take that string and I stretch it out. That's one length. That's point A to point B. Okay, so that's what perimeter is. That's what I mean when we talk about length and around a polygon. Well, anyway, I put the definition of a polygon here. It's basically a two-dimensional figure with the exception of a circle. Because how can you apply this little formula, sum of all sides, or adding up all the sides to a circle? How many sides does a circle have? Some of my students say, it doesn't have any sides. And I say, well, if you built a round house, it doesn't have any walls? What? Really? Okay, no. It has one side, so how do you add one to nothing else, right? That's why this little formula, or this little, I guess little formula, the sum of all sides, doesn't really work with circles. So anyway, a polygon is basically any kind of two-dimensional figure that has an angle, okay? Like a triangle has 3 angles, triangle, square, rectangle, even like the stop sign, right? The hexagon, I think it's a hexagon, still has, even though it's kind of round-ish, it's not really round, it still has angles. So if it has angles and it's a two-dimensional figure, it's a polygon, okay? All right, so I've been mentioning this word a lot, two-dimension, and I think earlier I might have said that length is 1 dimension. What am I talking about, right? What am I talking about? How many dimensions are there? Well, I could get into other stuff, like physics and astrophysics, and they have some crazy things, but we're not going to talk about that. I'm going to erase this, so I'll just step out of the way. Maybe you guys want to pause and write it all down. Now's your chance. Okay? 1 dimension, 2 dimensions, 3 dimensions. What could all that mean? Any ideas, right? Any ideas? Where do we live in? Do we live in a one-dimensional world? Two-dimensional world, like Flatland? Nice little math book if you check it out. I forgot the author, I'm really sorry. Anyway, Flatland, check it out. So I put on the board over here a basic description of what I'm talking about, or what math or what geometry is talking about when they say 1 dimension, 2 dimension, and 3 dimensions. Perimeter is going to be a one-dimensional measurement. And that's because, well, I don't know because, but in the way you would see that, and I just made these numbers up, okay? I just picked 25 out of the sky, so don't think like you should know why there's a 25 there, okay? It's just because I put it there, not for any other reason. Anyway, so when we talk about perimeter being 1 dimension, it's 25 feet. That would be an example of a perimeter. And how do I know that? Because it just says feet, 1 dimension. Well, what do you mean just 1 dimension? Well, it could say inches, it could say miles, it could say whatever, any unit of measure. But I just picked feet out of the sky, again, just because I wanted to. And that's 1 dimension. Well, how does that compare to area? Area is a measurement of 2 dimensions. And the way to tell that in an answer is because they always put, like, for example, 25 feet squared. And you can see, well, 2 and 2, well, I mean, that's 2 dimensions. It's describing a 2-dimensional measurement. And then later on in like the 3rd video, you'll probably see, we'll talk about volume, which is 3 dimensions. And if you see an answer that says this, for example, or in a word problem, right? Blah, 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 it measures 25 feet cubed. I got that, that's volume. That's not 1 dimension, that's not 2 dimensions, that's 3 dimensions because it has a little cubed right there. Units cubed. And units could be miles, feet, inches, gallons, whatever. Okay? So anyway, yeah. And that's one way to tell. So here in blue you can see if it was something you're reading in the text, that's how you can tell what they're talking about. Are they talking about perimeter? Are they talking about area? Are they talking about volume? So 1 dimension, that's what we're talking about today. We're one-dimensional today. And that's because it's that distance between A and B. It's just a line. It measures from here to here. 2-dimensional objects are things that measure from here and here. They usually, like if you could imagine like a rectangle, it would have a length and a width, or a base and a height. Don't get too caught up on the words. It has this and this. And that would make the shape of a, like a square or a rectangle, right? It has a length and it has a height. 2-dimensional. The 3-dimensional thing here, the volume, that is like a shoebox. I do this in class with my students and I tell them, with your hands, show me what a shoebox looks like. And some of them just go, looks like that. Just like that? Like from here to here, just a line? Really? And then, okay, no, well, it has like maybe like that. So it's this and this, that's it. Well, if you think about a shoebox, it has a length or a width, whatever you want to call that dimension. It has one of these, And then it has the third dimension, a depth. Okay, it kind of has that little depth thing, right? So it has this one, and this one. 1, 2, I got lost. 1, 2, 3, right? I feel like I'm doing a Vogue thing. Anyway, all right, so that's the difference, right? 3 dimensions. So you can imagine volume is something that you can fill up. It's a box or anything, any container, even a bottle of something, right? That's a cylinder. It can be filled with something. It's 3-dimensional. And to tell you the truth, everything in our world is 3-dimensional. Even a sheet of paper. Some people, we like to say, well, what are the 3 dimensions? It just has a base and a height. Has no width. Well, believe it or not, there is a width here, right? There is a width here. That's why if I stack 100, it's like this. If they didn't have a width, they would just be flat, right? So everything in our world is actually 3-dimensional. But like for a sheet of paper, for all intents and purposes, we kind of consider it just 2 dimensions because this very minuscule side, the width of this paper, is so small that we really don't pay attention to it until we get a paper cut, right? Then it's important. Then, hey, that thing has a sharp edge. Has an edge that I wasn't taking into consideration before. Anyway, everything that everywhere in this world is 3-dimensional, right? But mathematics is powerful enough to describe 1 dimension, 2 dimensions, maybe up to 13 dimensions. Talked about astrophysics. I think it was 13, the last number, 15, 12? Anyway, but mathematics is powerful like that. Our world is only 3-dimensional, okay? And on a piece of paper, we can draw something that would be quote-unquote 2-dimensional. But it doesn't even really exist in our world, okay? Don't worry, don't get caught up on those little details. The big thing I want you to get here is perimeter is 1 dimension, area is 2 dimension, volume is 3 dimensions, okay? All right. So let's get back to perimeter. And I just brought that over because I'm going to be referencing that a lot in these next few videos. And I think it's important that you guys, keep that in mind. So, I'll draw the first figure today that we're going to be looking at. All right. We're going to call this a 2-dimensional figure, okay? Because it has like a base or a length, some people say. And it has a height or a width, some people say. I don't get too caught up on the word. You can if you want, but it has one of these and it has one of those. That's 2 dimensions. 1, 2. Okay, I don't even know what this is called. I just know it has it. All right. So anyway, I usually use base and height. That's usually what I use. That's how I was taught. But I know that a lot of books use length and width. Yeah, whatever you want. Okay, so I'm going to put some dimensions here. Let's put 10 inches and 8 inches. Okay. And the question will be, what is the perimeter of this object? Remember on the board before I erased it, I said it's the sum of all sides. How many sides does this polygon or this rectangle have? It has 4 sides. So that means I have to add this one plus this one plus this one plus this one. And you bet, whoa, how much does the top one measure? Or how much does this one over here measure? Well, one thing we need to understand, and I could probably, we're just being very general right now, but later on you might want to be looking for things like this. This little box thing that I put in the corners just means that the angle is 90 degrees. Obviously, this is our first geometry video. This is not really where I want to be putting our focus right now. Later on we'll be talking about angles and you'll see a lot more of that. But just so you know, this is a right angle, measures 90 degrees. Okay, and when I put those two there, it's an automatic rectangle. It has to be a rectangle, no other choice. So, rectangles have 2 sides that measure the same, and it has 2 other sides that measure the same. It has 2 parallel sides that measure the same, and 2 other parallel sides that measure the same. That's another word we'll talk about later on, don't worry. So really the big concept that we just need to kind of get over is if it measures something on this side, it's going to measure the same on the other side. Okay? So this one measures also 8 inches. And the top, like I said, but this one measures 10, this one's going to measure 10. Okay, we're just going to assume these things. I'm not going to really always be putting this little box here to show that it is, in fact, a rectangle. Okay. So then we just add all the sides, and that's it. It's not hard. Perimeter is just a one-dimensional thing. Remember, we're just going to take that little string, tie it to this corner, take the string, go around the rectangle, get these 2 pieces of string where I started and where I ended, stretch it out, and measure how long that is. That's the one dimension I'm talking about. Okay? This is from here to here. All right? Okay, so what is it? Let's see, 10 plus 8 plus 10 plus 8. Well, 10 and 10 is 20, so I got 20. 8 and 8, 16, so 20 and 16 is 36, right? So I can use another color. Yeah, so the perimeter would be 36 inches, and I should probably put perimeter, something like that. Okay? 36 inches. It's not too hard, I hope, okay? Not yet, anyway. They do get a little more interesting, though, later on, where I'd like to say that we might want to be thinking about using geometry, not geometry, using algebra to figure out. I'll show you some in a minute here. Okay, so what else? What other measurements do I have on this guy? 10, 4. Okay. And I should be putting inches down so we don't get too confused. All right, and I could ask you the same thing. First of all, what kind of shape is this? This is basically a rectangle that got knocked over, and that's about all it is. It's called a parallelogram, okay? And just for your reference, rectangles are also parallelograms, but they just have right angles that makes them rectangles. Okay, so the same rule applies. If this side measures 4, this side will measure 4, okay? So let's put 4 over here. Same thing here. If it measures 10 on the bottom, it's going to measure 10 on the top. And what's this 5 doing over here? What is that? Pay attention to that in area. When we're talking about area, that 5 is going to be very, very important. And I could even put, just to foreshadow what you're going to be seeing later on, okay? So again, perimeter. What's the perimeter of this figure? You have to add up all the sides. I didn't say add up all the numbers. I said add up all the sides. Okay? And I put that 5 there on purpose. Really, the 5 is showing the height of the parallelogram. And we don't need to, perimeter doesn't need to know that. Perimeter just wants to know the shape of the 4 sides. Remember that perimeter is the sum of all sides. So add up the 4 sides, and that's it. So again, 10 and 10 is 20. 4 and 4 is 8. So 28. 28. So perimeter for this one is 28 inches. Not squared, we're not doing area. Not cubed, we're not doing volume. Just one dimension right there by itself. Okay, 28 inches. Let's do another one. This time we'll do a little triangle. What did I put? What did I put? The dimensions might not look right. Okay, I get it. I'm not the best artist, but just basic. We'll just focus on focus on one. Oh, focus on the numbers, right? Focus on the sides. So again, I have 4 numbers here. Formula is not the sum of all numbers. It's the sum of all, or the sum of all measurements. It's the sum of all sides. Triangles have 3 sides, obviously. So let's see here. I add up the 7 plus 6 plus 8. 7 and 6 is 13 plus 8, 21, right? 21, and I'll put inches. I forgot to put my units. I'm sorry. I have a bad habit of doing that. So it'd be like 21 inches. Okay. So you can see that this isn't too complicated, and this video shouldn't be as long as it is for something so simple. But I like to talk a lot, and I hope some of the things that I say are useful. Goodness gracious. All right, so let's do one that is a little bit more tricky. A little bit more tricky. Okay. So what would that be looking like? That would look like this. And I'll tell you over here it's 4 feet. Okay. And I'll give you something else. I'll tell you that the perimeter is 20, what did I put before my little example? 26 inches around. This is the kind, this is the kind of problem where perimeter gets a little bit more action, okay? Gets a little more interesting, a little bit more like, what? They're not asking you for perimeter. I'm going to tell you what they're going to ask for. They're going to ask you for, what's the length of this side? That's what they want to know. Okay, go for it. Well, actually, why don't you pause the video and give it a shot? Why don't you try doing it? See if you can figure out what the measurement of this length, or base, whatever you want to call it, is. What would that measure? All right, so to do this, we actually have to know a little bit about perimeter. What is perimeter? Well, it's the sum of all sides. So I have to add up all four sides. So like I said before, if this one measures something, the top one measures the same. So what does this one measure? It measures L. That's what it measures. It measures L feet. Okay? So the top one's got to measure the same. Okay? Has to. And if this one measures 4 feet, this one's got to measure 4 feet too. I'm just going to put the 4. Okay? All right. So, what if I added these two? I get 4 and 4, that gives me 8. So I got to get to 26. I'm at 8 and I got to get all the way to 26. You can do this just thinking about it. Focus on it. You can do it. But I'm going to show you how to do it with algebra. And I'm going to always try to lean towards the algebra expression or algebraic expression because I just find it to be a little bit more exacting and we kind of get away from the guessing of it. And it makes your algebra skills better. Okay, so do I have room down here? No. Yes, I do. All right, so I have 4 plus L, and I'll just do it like this, plus L is equal to 26. That's an equation, people. That's an equation, right? They gave us the answer, so that means that we have our equation. So then we simplify like terms, and I always said in the algebra videos, simplify one side first and simplify the other side. Well, you can see it this side over here with the 26 is already done, so we've got to simplify this side. And we do that by grouping like terms, and I'll just alternate colors here. 4 and 4 is 8. Plus, just bringing down my plus, L plus L is actually 2L. Okay? Not too crazy, right? Not too crazy. Then I would pass the 8 over to the other side, or move it over to the other side, to group all my numbers on one side and all my letters on this side. So I have all my letters over here. I might as well get the 8 to go over to the other side. And do you remember how to do that? This is a positive 8, okay? Because it doesn't have a sign. If it doesn't have a sign, it's a positive number. So to eliminate this number, to get this number to equal 0, I have to subtract it. Okay, and that basically cancels it out. And what I do to one side, I do to the other side. So I have to do the same thing over here. Subtract 8. Okay, so what does that give me? Give me 14. I'm horrible at subtraction, so you got to bear with me here. Sometimes I have to use my fingers and toes. All right, so if I rewrite this, I'm just going to leave the 18 there. I would have 2L is equal to 18. The last step, if you remember from the algebra videos, is to separate or isolate the L from the 2. Okay, now these two are connected by an operation, well, by the operation multiplication. So to undo that, we have to do the inverse operation. We have to do the division, okay, the opposite operation. So we divide it by the number that we try to get rid of, that we're trying to get rid of. So we divide by 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1. I'm just seeing how much room I have down here. I don't have that much room. It's 1. Oops, sorry. It's actually going to be 1L, but 1 times L is L, so I'm not going to put the 1. Just put the L is equal to, now the other side I have to do the same thing, divide that by 2. And 18 divided by 2 is 9. Okay. Now can we see that? Yeah, we can kind of see that. I know it got kind of scrunched up here. I hope the colors help out to keep things clear. But anyway, L is equal to 9. So now I know that this L, or both L's actually, any L that there is going to be equal to 9. Okay? And that's how we would figure this kind of problem out. I have another one. We'll do another one. Okay? Now, let me just erase this work right here so I can show you another way of expressing it right away. So we had this way of doing it because we said that perimeter is the sum of all sides. We add up all the 4 sides, and that's why there's plus, plus, plus. However, we could do some of that simplification before we write it like this. This works fine, don't get me wrong. You can do that. It's perfectly cool. But So these were L's. I'll just leave it. You guys know they're L's. We'll use this example here. So I have this one and this one, or I have two of the same one. So that could be expressed 2 times 4. I have 2 4s, right? And then I have 2 L's, and that would immediately put those two together, right? And then you add them together. So I add these two and I add those two. That would give me the addition or the sum of all of them. Just another way of expressing it. Okay, in my mind, I would probably think of this second way more so than the first way. It's 2L and 2 4s. That's how I would do it. And you add them together, right? And you add them together. Okay, and then you start that. It gives you 8, pass the 8 over, and it's the same as the one I just did. Okay? All right, let's do another one. Let's look at something a little bit different. I think I'm going to try and change it up on you a little bit. We'll do another one of those ones in just a second, okay? We actually had 2 more of those to do. Now what I want to show you is one that's just a little bit different. Okay, so let's say this is 10 inches. Just so you know, the 2 little marks means inches, and if it had 1, like that, that would be feet. Okay, just so you know. You'll see me use that a lot. Anyway, so let's make this one 2 inches. We'll make that one 3. Now we'll make this one. Sorry, my marker is throwing down a whole bunch of ink. Yeah, let's do it anyway. 3 inches. We'll make that one 2 inches. And we'll make this one, oh, I don't know, what do you think? We'll make it 8 inches. Okay, and then I still need, no, I'll leave that one. Let's see, let's do this one. Okay, I'm just kind of making it up on the fly, so thank you for your patience. All right, now this is a very typical kind of problem. It's not a square. It's not a rectangle. It's not a parallelogram. It's not a trapezoid. It's steps. You could look at it like steps. And it's important for me to mention that it doesn't have a name, because later on when we do area, that's going to be very important. We'll talk about that later, though. So right now, I'm just going to ask you right now for perimeter. All right, why don't you go ahead and pause the video, give it a shot. Seriously, go ahead and try it. Remember that perimeter is the sum of all sides. So you might want to start there. How many sides does this thing have? Well, let's see, it has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 sides. So you should be adding up 8 numbers. But wait a minute. I only put down 6 numbers, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We're missing 2. That's on you. That rhymed. Anyway, so how do we find those measurements that are missing? Because we need those measurements to do the sum of all sides. Okay, so let's start looking at that. Okay, so I have the 10, I have the 2, I have the 3, I'm missing this one. Okay, so this is a question mark right here. We don't know this one yet. And then I have this one, and I skipped this one on purpose. You guys probably saw me. So we're missing those 2 measurements. How would we find those? Well, right now our clues are right here in the 10 and the 15. So to get all these vertical measurements, these ones that go up and down, like the 3, the 2, and the right? We need to look at this vertical measurement. This 10 is measuring from the bottom to the top. Okay, so if you stepped on all these and stepped on the first one, second one, and the third one, you would be a total of 10 inches higher, okay? So we have to understand that. So let's start from the top and go down. 10, I drop down 3, and I drop down 2, so that means I've dropped down 5, right? So I'm looking at the 3, the 2, and I guess I could maybe do it something like this to show that. Right, so I'm taking this 3 right over here. I'm taking this 2 right over here. I know that they don't look like the same, but anyway. And I know that the total is 10. So I know that from here to here is 10 because this is what this over here tells me. Okay, that's important. Now, well, that's 5. How much more to get to 10? Or 10 minus those 5, basically, would give you 5. So I know that this one measures 5 inches. Okay? Does that make sense? Okay. Now let's do the same thing over here with this one. And so for these horizontal lines, horizontal means like this, okay, this direction, vertical is like this, okay, remember I use the horizon, right, the sun sets behind a horizon. Anyway, so for this one that's missing, it's a horizontal line, the horizontal measurement, I need to look at my horizontal information. And this is a good place to start. This is where I have the total, right, 15. Okay, so let me move this P down a little bit. I'll just keep it away for now. So from here to here-ish is 8. From here to here-ish is we don't know. And then from here to the end is 2. Oops, I should push the measurement down here. Okay, so I know that the total is 15. I have 8 and I have 2. 8 plus 2 is 10. And 10 to 15 is 5. So this one would have to measure 5, or this one right here would have to measure 5. Okay. That makes sense? I hope it does. I really hope it does. Because you will see lots of these, especially also in an area and volumes. So, okay. Oh, I was going to erase it right there. We haven't even done it yet. Okay, now we have to add up all the sides. All right, here we go. So 15 plus 5 is 20. 20 plus 8 is 28. Plus 2 is 30. Plus 5 is 35. Plus 3 is 38. Plus 2 is 40. Plus 5 is 50. Okay? You guys can check my math on that, please. But the idea here is that I tried to add up all the sides. I think I got it right. I think I did. All right. Well, 15 and 15 is 30. 10 and 10 is 20. 20. Yeah, it should be right. 15. It should be 30. I mean, sorry. It should be 50. Can't talk. All right, let's go back and do another one of those ones that look like an algebra problem. But this ability to find missing measurements, ooh, buddy, that is a good one. That is a tough one. I will put a hard one up for you, one of my favorites that I kind of came up with by accident in the area video, so keep a lookout for that. And I'll ask for both perimeter and area, okay? So this next one I have, it's just another rectangle problem. Okay, and we're going to say that this measures 16 feet. 1 mark means feet, remember that, okay? And I'll give you the perimeter. The entire perimeter, or the distance around this thing, is 72. And I'll just use the other expression, why not? 72 feet. The perimeter is 72 feet. So obviously the question will be, what is this measurement? This time I'm going to go ahead and use an X, okay? I liked it. I think I like X more than I like L, okay? All right, so same thing. How do you find this one? Now, we've already seen me do one. You could even rewind this video back and check it out, and then pause the video and try to get the answer for this one. Okay? Go for it. All right, so I have a perimeter. I have one measurement, or the measurement of one of the sides, and it's a rectangle. We have to assume it's a rectangle. I'm not going to get into the details for that, but it's a rectangle. So that means that this one measures 16, this one measures 16 feet. And if this one measures X, the top one measures X. Okay? I know it sounds strange saying that a measurement measures a letter, but we use letters for variables to take the place of that number so we can talk about it. I need to find X. Well, what's X? Right? I need to find that one that's missing, you know, that thing that's missing. X is a little bit more efficient, okay? Just try to, practice that. All right, so now I know that perimeter is the sum of all sides, but I could, like I said before on the last one that I did, I can go, I need 2 of these and I need 2 of those, and then I add them together. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to use black. I like black. So 2 16s, 2 times 16, and plus 2 x's will give me 72. Okay? And so there is my equation. You know me, I like to put my line there. I like the line. All right, so I guess basically I can multiply these and move them over. So 2 times 16 is 32. 32. And I'll just rewrite it, what the heck. Pass the 32 over with subtraction. Remember, if it doesn't have a sign, let me move this over a little bit more centralized. If it doesn't have a sign, it's positive, so the positive goes here. We'll pass it over, subtracting. Okay, so 32 minus 32 is gone. It's just 0. So what I'm left with is 2x is equal to 40. Okay, is that right? Yeah, that's right, 40. Have room on the screen? Yes, I have room on the screen. Good. So the last step would be to isolate x. Now, the 2 and the x are together by multiplication. It says 2 times x, just by the fact that they're written right next to each other. That means multiplication in algebra. So I have to divide to separate them. I have to do the opposite operation or the inverse operation. So that's going to be division. And these 2 cancel out. I'm left with x is equal to 20. Okay? And that's it. Boom. So these are equal to 20 feet. Okay? 20 plus 20 plus 32 is 72. Okay? There we go. Cool. All right, so that's basically my lesson. And I have homework for you guys. For all of you who like to pause the video and try things on your own. There you go. So, again, I always do this at the end of my videos, at least I try to. Why don't you seriously try to stop the video, give it a go, see what you get, and good luck. All right? I'll do it. Don't worry. All right, tick-tock, time's up. So, we'll start with the first one. I'll rewrite the first one on the board. Okay? And then we'll do that one. So you can tell right away that this first one is pretty much the same as the one we just did. Right? It's kind of a rectangle, huh? Oh, I put it way too high, didn't I? Let's just do this. And I said it was inches. Okay, now, see now the whole thing's bugging me. I tell you, my OCD comes out at the weirdest times. Okay. So, same thing, we have to find x, obviously. We have to find that variable, the measurement of that variable. And I said that the perimeter, right, said that the perimeter was equal to 44 inches. So I'll just put the P is equal to 44 inches. All right. So again, I'm going to push the algebra on you. I really want you guys to try using algebra with these. Okay? So we know that the formula is the addition of all 4 sides. So this one plus this one plus this one plus this one. And you can do that. But I know that in geometry with these kinds of shapes, like a rectangle, if it measures 1 on top, it measures the same on the bottom. If it measures 17 on top, it measures 17 on the bottom. And if it measures x on one side, let me put that more centralized, it's going to measure x on the other side, x inches. So I know that I need 2 x's and I need 2 17s, right? So let's go ahead and put that down. 2 17s, or 2 times 17. Okay? And I need 2 x's. I don't need parentheses when I express a variable like that. And then we add them together. And the total of this is going to give us 44 inches. But I'm not going to put the inches in the equation. My first step, I always like to put the line. You know me. You know me. OPP. Okay, so we'll do the multiplication first. And 2 times 17 is 34. All right, and then plus 2x equals to 44, equals 44. We'll pass the 34 over to the other side. Remember, this is a positive, so to get rid of it, we have to subtract it. All right, so that will cancel out. I'm not going to write the 0. What I do to one side, I do to the other side, so I'll put the minus 34 on the other side. And I'll just bring down my 2x, because that's still here, equals 10, right? 44 minus 34 is 10. And then we divide to separate the x from the 2 to group all the numbers on that side and leave x isolated on this side. So we'll do that. Divide both sides by 2, and that gives us x is equal to 5. All right, so x is 5. So these ones are here on the side are 5. They're no longer x. They're no longer unknown variables. They are now, it's a known variable. It's 5 inches. All right, cool. I hope you got it right. I really do. All right, let's do the next one. I think the next one I can just do right here on this little board. All right, so this is kind of a little bit different. It's kind of like the step shape, but not quite the step shape, right? It's a rectangle and a box, looks like, or a rectangle and a square. It is a square. How do I know it's a square? Because what is a square? A square is a four-sided shape with all the sides measure the same, and I know that because it measures 3 here and 3 here. I don't know why I'm talking like that. Sorry, gosh, I think I'm hungry. So 3 and 3, okay, anyway. So let's see here. Perimeter is the sum of all sides. I can start with this little rectangle. Well, actually, the sum of all sides. Well, how many sides do I have? I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 sides. Okay, so I have to add up 8 numbers. All right. I only have 5 numbers. I'm missing 3 numbers here. All right, so the easy ones I think are like this one and this one, because I know it's a rectangle, and what measures on this side, it measures the same on the other side. So I think this, I'll put it in blue so you can see what I'm doing here. This was going to be 2. Okay, just because what's on this side, it measures the same on the other side, right? Same thing with this square. 3 and 3, right? It's going to be 3 on this side too. Now it could be 3 down here, but I don't need the interior measurement. Remember, I just want the perimeter around the object, okay? This one I don't want. I could put a 3 here if I wanted, but I don't need that for my perimeter, okay? I don't need it for this problem, just so you know. So I'll take it off. It's going to bug me if I leave it there. All right. And then I have this long horizontal base, so this long length. How do I find that? Well, I got to look to my horizontal measurements. Remember, horizontal is like the horizon, like this, right? So I have 1 horizontal measurement, 2 horizontal measurements, 3 horizontal measurements. I'm sorry. Okay, so but I have 5, 3, and 4. And those are the ones those measurements are going to get me across the way here. So I have like from here to here is 5. From here to about here is 3, right? And the rest of the way is 4. Okay? So 5 plus 3 plus 4 is, I don't know, that's 17. No, crap, that's 12. No. What is that? That's 7 plus 5, so 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, yeah, it's 12. I tell you, I can't add or subtract. My students laugh at me, and I'm sure some of you guys are thinking I'm a little sick or something, a little wrong. But, you know, I can do a lot of stuff in math, but my basic addition and subtraction has never been strong. Anyway, so now I have the measurement of all my sides. I have all, this one measured 12, that one measured 2, and this one measures 3. So I'm good. Now I can add them all up. So let's give it a go. 12 plus 2 is 14. 14 plus 4 is 18. 18 plus 3 is 21. 25. 29, no, 28. 28 plus 5 is, what is that, 33. And then 33 plus 2 is 35. Okay, please check my math. Again, I'm not the best adder? I'm not the best at adding or subtracting, so please check that. But I guarantee you that the 12, the 2, and the 3 are correct. And so remember that perimeter is a one-dimensional thing, okay? It's a one-dimensional concept. And sometimes they ask us things backwards. They might give us the perimeter and then ask us for one of the things that's missing. And my suggestion to you would be to try to use algebra as much as possible. Okay, get familiar with it. Try to push yourself to practice that. I know you guys can do it if you just try. And the next 2 videos will be on area, 2 dimensions, and then volume, 3 dimensions. So remember that polygons are not circles. They're just about any kind of 2-dimensional shape that is not a circle because it doesn't have more than one side. So we have another word for that. Don't worry, we'll talk about circles too.